girlfriend, and everyone loves to comment that I'm one argument away from homelessness, but I feel like everybody is one argument away from homelessness.
Do you respect your husband enough to get dressed up for him? You respect your boss enough to get dressed up for him, right? All of your coworkers, they get to see your most presentable side. But whenever your husband comes home, you're in jammies.
I am a 21-year-old wife and mom, and yes, I got married and had my baby at 20 years old.
We did a very deep dive on Tradwife content. We spoke about essentially the financial risks associated with choosing that type of lifestyle as a woman. We also covered the economic dynamics behind that ecosystem, as well as what the reality looks like for people in 2026 in as far as cost of living is concerned. We also covered the illusion that is within these Tradwives content creators because, well, how are they Tradwives when they are out there earning an income? A lot of these people are content creators, they are entrepreneurs, but they are posing on life, showcasing a life that is actually not relatable to the lives that they are living themselves. We also spoke about the power dynamics in these types of relationships. And like I promised you, we are going to be reacting, critiquing, and also looking at the advantages of this type of lifestyle based on some videos that I gathered online. Without further ado, let us dive right into the first video.
I'm 19 years old, married, no degree, no 9 to 5, and I'm exactly where I want to be. Let me answer all your questions. Yes, I got engaged at 18, married at 19. I didn't go to college.
Okay. Tell me I'm crazy. Tell me I didn't hear it properly. Because what do you mean you got engaged at 18? How old was this man? At 18, you got engaged? Oh, wow. Oh, wow. This husband better be 18 also. I hope the husband is 18. Because what do you mean you got engaged at 18? What is this? But anyway, let's continue.
College, I don't plan to. I don't have a degree. I don't have a job, and I'm not getting one. I love to cook for my husband.
Now, first of all, when it comes to college degrees and stuff like that, I do feel like it's a little bit subjective. You don't always have to go to college, but of course you do require a skill in life. Personally, if I had children, I would encourage them to go to college, okay, not just for the skill, but I do feel like university gives a certain level of exposure to kids and an opportunity to be independent and to grow on their own that, skipping it wouldn't otherwise give. So I would personally advise my children to go to university just the same way that I was also, advised to go to university. There are different channels to get to your career goal, but sometimes it's necessary for your development. Okay, that's what I would personally do, but her life, her choices. And maybe she does have another skill, maybe, it's not traditional college, but she does have other skills. So let's continue watching.
I love to host. I love to run our home. These are things I'm very passionate about. I get asked about this a lot, but me and my husband dated for 6 weeks before getting engaged. And I did.
So now she's saying they got engaged after dating for 6 weeks, which means that at some point they dated when she was 17. Okay, now I don't know. I'm just going to take that with a grain of salt, the whole dating for 6 weeks type of thing. I will take that with a grain of salt because I don't know at this point if indeed they dated for 6 weeks or if this is a strategy to say, to soften, the blow that, somebody's out there wifing out or engaging, proposing marriage to an 18-year-old. You never know, okay? But now, okay, let's take her word for it. She said they dated for 6 weeks. That in itself is crazy, but who am I? If she likes it, we absolutely love it. Let's watch.
Didn't have a wedding. We opted out of the whole big wedding thing. I got married at my husband's house with 20 people. Now, personally, I think wedding culture has gotten so out of hand and people are getting married for the party. When I was a little girl and I dreamed of my wedding day, I dreamed of being married, not being in a big gown. And I didn't do that. I got married in a dress that I picked up from Bloomingdale's the day before for $200. I got married to build a life.
Okay. I like that. I like that because marriage really does go beyond, the wedding, the big wedding. So I'm not going to fault her for not wanting a big wedding. I myself didn't have a big one. But I understand those that do want bigger ones. So for that one, if that's, that was her dream, then go for it, girl.
Life with my husband, the man that I love, not for the party. We made the decision to go on a 2-month honeymoon instead and make lifelong memories that I will savor forever. Also, yes, me and my husband do have an age gap. He is 10 years old.
Uh exactly what I was expecting, okay? Of course, there is an age gap. Of course, somewhere, somehow, there is a man who has enjoyed his own youth and has no problem taking the youth of a teenager. Of course. I mean, of course. It's expected. It's men, after all.
Older than me. A lot of people seem to think I got married for religious reasons. That's not true. Yes, I'm religious. I'm not that religious. I chose to get married young because I wanted to. And I'm told by a lot of people that I should be young and out there and living my life. I don't know what that means. I promise you I am living my life to the fullest in my faithful marriage. Anyways, that's a little bit about me and my life. I hope I answered all your questions.
I am at a loss of words. So, not only did she get engaged at 18, a man who's 10 years older did this, a man who's probably 29 did this, a man who enjoyed his own life from the age of 18 to the age of 29. He had all this time to enjoy his youth. I am at a loss of words, really. But then again, this is a 19-year-old. If I were to think back at where my mind was at 19, I probably, yeah, but no. But all I'm saying is practically this is a child with no experience in the real life world who's probably living in a fantasy, who doesn't even know the stats when it comes to divorces. And to her, the concept of divorce sounds like, something that is far-fetched, not realizing that majority of the people do get divorced. But that being said, let me just take a quick look at her account and see how many followers she has, because she seems to be really doing well in the content creation thing. Okay, so she has 65,000 followers. That's not bad, to be honest. And this video itself did 14 million views. And so she's going to generate money, obviously, from these videos. So I do not know the concept of her acting like she doesn't have a career at all, because content creation is a career to some people and it does make a lot of money. If you do grow your platform, which I feel like she's going to, because this video kind of went viral, she's generating income. She's not the typical trade wife. She's not the typical stay-at-home mom. So I do hope that whoever is watching this, the younger girls that are watching these, get to understand that this is not what being a trade wife looks like. This is not the reality for a lot of people. I also took the liberty to scroll through her platform, and I noticed that they seem to be very well off. They seem to be buying a lot of luxury items and stuff like that. And that's another facet that people don't understand, okay? Being a stay-at-home mom, being a trade wife, aside from the financial risk of depending on another person for your own well-being, for your provision, there is also a risk of the income just not being enough. And in 2026, for average income earners, the life is not going to look as glamorous as this, okay? Sometimes you're going to want to, she said she likes to host and stuff like that. And sometimes this is not the reality for a lot of people, okay? Sometimes if you do decide to be a stay-at-home mom, a lot of times the hosting that you so enjoy, you won't be able to host your husband that much, because his job, him going outside to look for money, will be very demanding. So I think people just need to keep that in mind. Overall, it's sad to see a 19-year-old really in this kind of situation. When I looked at her profile on TikTok, it reads, "The love of Ava, food and fashion, just a young wife who loves her husband. Bags and shoes are a close second," okay? So before her shoes, before her bags, she is a wife, okay? She identifies as a wife more than anything. And okay, let me stop here before you guys start calling me an old bitter woman, because that man, if I catch him, I'm just kidding. But anyway, let's watch another young stay-at-home mom.
Have a college degree or a back. I'm Tori. I am a 21-year-old wife and mom, and yes, I got married and had my baby at 20 years old. Yes, I stay at home with our son while my husband goes out and provides for us all day. Yes, I believe in getting married and having children young if you are able to. No, I don't have a college degree or a backup plan if my husband leaves me, but if that happens, I will figure it out. Although I think that getting married young, you're just betting on the person that you love, and I trust him, so no, I will probably never work another day in my life, and I am happy about that. That is my choice. Yes, my husband is the head of our household, and if he tells me to do something, I do it, no questions asked, unless it is against the Bible or against God. Yes, I want another baby by the time I am 23, and I want to be done having kids by 25 years old. No, I do not think it's vain to put effort into your appearance to look good for your spouse. Yes, I keep my home as non-toxic as possible, but I will have Taco Bell whenever the opportunity arises. Homemade baby food is better than the store-bought baby food, and you can't convince me otherwise. Going to your girlfriend or even your parents to complain about your spouse is top-tier disrespect. We utilize our Second Amendment rights in our household. We have a Second Amendment every 600 feet in our house, and taking those away from civilians will not solve crime problems. You will never catch me going out and doing social events without my husband past 5 p.m. because that is me and my husband's time, and so my calendar is blocked off to spend time with him from then until we go to bed. Even if my husband is wrong, you will see me backing him up 100% in public, and if I disagree with him, I will tell him in private, and you will never know about it. I truly never thought that these were hot takes before, but I've seen a lot of trends going on, making fun of like young wives and mothers, and so I thought I would just share my opinion. If you liked my hot takes and want more, then follow along. I'm Tori.
Now, first of all, Tori, I do not think that people were essentially making fun of young moms and, young wives, but some of the takes that you guys are bringing kind of makes people believe that you do not have enough life experience for some of the decisions that you might have made. For example, the first video that we watched, the way that that trade wife was talking about not having a degree, not having a career, not having the way that she was presenting it was almost like it is to be celebrated, it is to be glorified. And if people speak up against this, especially people that have more experience, we listen. You get it? If a 40-year-old comes right here, or a woman in her late 30s comes and speaks about some of these life decisions according to their experience, I don't think that that's them mocking us, or that's them saying that you do not know anything. So the fact that she looked at that as people making fun of young mothers is very interesting. That being said, I do not disagree with everything that she said here. There are some things that I'm like, okay, I understand. She said she doesn't argue with her husband in public. That's not so bad. However, there's some things that I was just like, okay. For example, when she speaks about not having a backup plan and betting on someone you love. Now, obviously, in our teen years, in our early 20s, we all think that love is enough. But the older you get, the more you realize that, love itself, just love alone, does not sustain a relationship. And she's speaking exactly like someone her age. So, we're not here to bash her, but I do hope that someone really does get through to her, because not having a backup plan is kind of interesting, especially if you're also bringing human beings into the world. Because when you bring human beings into the world, the responsibility, financial responsibility also, because responsibility doesn't always mean emotional or nurturing, it also does mean financial responsibility. So that in itself is more motivation why someone should have a backup plan, because a lot can happen. And we're not even talking about divorce. We're talking about the possibility of your husband going to the Lord before you. Things like that actually do happen. And in that case, you would understand why these older women are saying that you need to have a backup plan, because in their minds, these young girls, they're just thinking about divorce only. They're thinking about the husband betraying. But even before talking about that, we have to talk about other possibilities. And it's sad, what's going on online. It's sad what's being pushed out there online. But that being said, if she likes it, we absolutely love it. I had forgotten to mention that this girl says that if her husband asks her to do something, she does it with no question. Now, another question that I would want her to answer is how old is this husband? Is this another 20-year-old? Is this another 21-year-old? Is this a 22-year-old? Or who exactly is this person that you're entrusting with your life? But then again, I heard her talking about, the Bible. So it does seem like there is also a religious element to that. And when it comes to religion, really, it can get tricky, to be honest. I'm Christian myself, but I'm still feminist. I know some of you are going to be like, oh, it's not possible. Yeah, it's because you don't understand the difference between feminism and pure hating on man. So if you don't understand the distinction between that, then it is what it is. But that being said, let's watch.
Guys, so this morning I decided to do a story time about how me and my husband met, how we got pregnant, and how we got married at 20 years old. My husband and I met whenever we were 18 years old at a Christian college that we both went to at a Bible study. I wish I could tell you guys a different story because I know it's so stereotypical and I know I'll get made fun of in the comments, but that is actually what happened. We met at a Bible study and we started dating when we were 18. We were friends for about 8 months before we started dating, and we literally hung out every single day in our friend group, so we got to know each other really, really well before we started dating. I was in nursing school at the time, and then he was going for business management because he's taking over his dad's company. I did a lot of prerequisites in high school, so I actually had a whole year of college under my belt whenever I started my freshman year as an 18-year-old. So in about April of last year, I found out that I was pregnant outside of marriage. And I know you guys are going to come at me about that. And yes, I do believe that sex outside of marriage is a sin, but people also do mess up. And I believe that there is forgiveness and that you have the opportunity to start over. And that is what me and my husband decided to do. And like I said in my abortion video, it obviously was an inconvenient time. I was in school. I had a boyfriend. I didn't really know where my life was going to take me, but I did the responsible thing. I made a decision to sleep with my boyfriend, and so I decided to be responsible and step up and take care of the child that him and I created together. And he decided the same. However much you guys want to say that he's controlling and that he, is oppressive and everything, he is a very good man. Once he found out that we were pregnant, he did everything he could to help set us up for success financially. We went to college in a state other than California where he lives, so he actually moved back home over the summer to work so that he could save up some money for us, so that we had a down payment for our home, so that we had everything we needed to prepare for a baby. If you guys saw my video talking about everything he did to help us prepare for this pregnancy, but he literally sold his truck, he sold his boat, and he sold his Jeep, all to make sure that one is we could pay off the student loans I owed, and two, to save up for a down payment for a home. And that's to say he was actually 19 years old when this happened. He's 3 months younger than me. Some of you guys asked in the comments. The original plan was for me to finish out nursing.
Okay, so I guess her story is a little bit different from the first one that we watched. I don't know, maybe I'm a little bit biased, but this kind of gives me a certain level of relief, because at least they're in the same age group. But that being said, does it mean that someone your age cannot control you? Absolutely not. Does it mean that someone your age can fall, out of love with you at a later stage? Absolutely, that can happen. And so I don't know, you guys, it seems like they're very religious, which I find interesting also, knowing that there's laying down outside of wedlock, and then there's when it comes to listening to my husband, I will always listen to what he says. It's very interesting. Let me know in the comment section what you think about this stay-at-home mom. Now, as for her account, she's not a content creator. She's not like that other, stay-at-home mom. She seems to love her husband. They are the same age. Let me know if I'm just being biased for no reason, but do you feel a level of comfort when people are the same age than when there is an older person seemingly taking advantage of someone whose frontal lobe is not fully developed?
Girlfriend, and everyone loves to comment that I'm one argument away from homelessness, but I feel like everybody is one argument away from homelessness. You can get in an argument with your boss and then you can lose your job. You can get in an argument with your parents, they could cut you off. There are some things where you can get in an argument with someone and they would just cut you off. Me and my boyfriend do argue. That is something that happens in a relationship. Breaking up is never even like a thought in our heads because we just know we're never going to break up, so it's just not an option. And the same thing whenever we get married, divorce will never be a thing whenever we're arguing, because we know that we both want to be together and we're committed to each other and we will make it work. I'm a 19-year-old student girlfriend.
Okay, to this video, all I have to say is truly spoken like a 19-year-old. She's swearing that they will never break up. They will never be... That's exactly how a 19-year-old thinks. I think we all have been there. There are people that we've dated in the past and we couldn't picture our lives without them. But the reality of it is, as you grow older, even looking back, you're like, what was going, with what was going on with me back then? So I'm not going to fault her for thinking this way. This is exactly how a teenager thinks. And she cites all these things like, well, you could get into an argument with your boss, you could get into an argument with this person, but the only difference is, of course, you would have your savings as you're working. Not only that, you would have garnered enough experience and education and skills to look for another job. So now when you do break up from your boyfriend, what do you have on your resume? Are you going to now look for another husband or partner to look after you? Because you cannot just easily go into the workforce because you don't have the experience for that. So a person who has lost a job has got some hope to look for another job. Now, granted, of course, that the job market is not easy anyway, but having your skills, having your experience, it does give you somewhat of an advantage. And we cannot say the same for someone who decided to just not garner any skills. And I looked at her TikTok. It seems like for her, content creation is not a thing. So she's truly a stay-at-home girlfriend. Now, it's one thing to be a stay-at-home mom, but to be a stay-at-home girlfriend is certainly just taking this whole thing to yet another level, because you do not have any protection, unlike a wife. A wife married in community of property can claim some of the things. But for you, amen, I don't know. Let me know in the comment section, you guys, what you think about it. There's also something very interesting that I came across on their page, and it's the husband basically saying that not the husband, the boyfriend, saying that he is the captain of the ship. So that in itself kind of tell you the power dynamics that we spoke about earlier on Amanda Spice, that when one person is a provider, it is very hard to maintain equality in that relationship. I mean, even in friendship, dynamics, you'll find that a friend who's always paying for the other friends sort of has some form of authority, or, to them compared to the other friends. Sometimes it doesn't even come because they're a bad person, but because the financial decisions have to be made by that specific person, they can get to tell you what you can and cannot spend money on. And that's not a cute dynamic to be in.
This person just said that me and my girlfriend are a team and I am not above her. But the funny thing is, every team in the world, whether it's football, baseball, a company, every team has a leader. So we talk about things, we discuss them. Once we're done discussing, I make the final decision.
And this is exactly the dynamic that I was expecting. I wasn't expecting less from this. Now let's watch one more 19-year-old or younger woman tell us what it is like to be a trad wife.
I got married at 22 and had I got married at 22 and had my first baby at 23. And if I could go back, here's what I would tell myself. Getting married and having children is the most fulfilling thing you will ever do in your entire life. The less you think about yourself, the more of yourself you'll become. Home birth will be one of the most empowering experiences of your life. Pray about everything all the time. Be in constant prayer with your Father in heaven because he cares. You don't need a bunch of money to stay home. A soft life doesn't exist. You're gonna have hard work no matter what you do. The more you respect your husband, the more respectable he'll become. If you don't model peace for your children, they'll never know what it looks like. Invest in the cloth diapers. Your children are not a problem, they are the point. Trust God to lead your family through your husband because he's your head. I got married.
I'm very shocked, but then again, for her, it appears that she's religious, so this would make a lot of sense for her to think like this. But yeah, with this one, I have no words. Let's watch another video that I saw on her page, and then I'll give my full commentary after that one.
Over and over again, we see this pattern of lovely young women becoming feminists and coming out the other side with piercings and shaved heads and gaining like 50 pounds. That's what happens whenever you aren't following the truth. Whenever you're being influenced in demonic ideologies, you start looking like a demon. It's okay to be lovely and pretty and beautiful and happy. You don't have to be ugly and overweight with a shaved head to be safe. You can be beautiful and lovely and thin and taken care of and made safe by a godly Christian man. If you're seeing the fruits of feminism and you don't like them either, give me a follow and read the Bible. Over and over again, we see this.
I'm shocked. Guys, I'm literally this one is just shocking to me. This one is, I cannot believe that someone set up a camera to record this. I cannot believe it. And how old is she? Because she says over and over again we see the pattern. How old are you? Let me find out she's 20 or 21. Okay, she said at 22, so maybe she's 24 or 25. But so you've been on earth for 25 years and you're already talking about over and over we see this pattern again. And you're giving advice to people that have been on earth longer than you. Does that sound like biblical wisdom to you? I don't know, you guys. There's just something, I have no words. And this idea of likening feminism to people who are overweight or to gaining weight is just another one. This is a new one.
Learning what it meant to respect my husband. When I was first learning what it meant to respect my husband, as somebody who used to be an adamant feminist, something that was a game changer for me was whenever I heard that when you ask your husband for his opinion on something, on what you should do, and then you don't take it, they interpret that as disrespect. Because why would you be asking them what they think if you don't actually care what they think? If you aren't actually going to follow their lead? So don't ask your husband for his opinion if you aren't willing to take it, whatever he says. When I was first learning what it meant.
This is the problem with extremism, which is a conversation that we will have on Amanda Spice, because I feel like there's something that's happening in today's world where it's extreme. Like no one wants to stay in the middle ground anymore. It's either someone is a radical feminist or someone is like a radical this. I don't know what to call this, but no. Okay? No. And I don't know what type of feminist she was, because when she says as someone who used to be a feminist, if you fell into the wrong side to the extreme side of feminism, where it's borderline men hating, then maybe you may end up being extremely on the other side. But I don't see any actual feminist that would then turn around and be this, I don't know what to call this really. I don't know. It's ridiculous.
And use this. Sounds like they don't want. Our generation is infantilizing adults. I am 19 years old. I got married a week after I turned 18, and I had my baby on my 19th birthday. When I first started making TikTok content, and even now, one of the most common things is I'm a child raising a child. Me and my husband are just kids playing house. Another thing that I've been seeing is I've seen people around my age infantilizing themselves. Like, I'm 18 and I can't even cook for myself. That's not good. I'm 18 and I'm not an adult yet, or I'm 18, I don't know how to do this, or this and this and this, and I'm just gonna say it, you should know how to do that. People try and use this. Sounds like they don't want to have the same responsibility as an adult. The age of adulthood starts at 18 for a reason. You aren't going from, okay, you're 17 and on your birthday, boom, you're exactly an adult. Throughout your whole teenage life, you should be learning life skills and be competent by the time you are 18. You should know how to cook. You should know how to clean. And I'm not saying I'm perfect. I'm not saying that I know everything. Some people say you're not an adult until you're 25. What? How are you saying that? There's been a few people that have made YouTube videos about me and saying that I wasn't responsible enough to be a mom or wife, or that I shouldn't be having any of this. It has set lower expectations on young adults, and I think that's a problem. People are now afraid to handle finances, make phone calls, scheduling appointments. You always see these women be like taking my mom to the hospital and having her answer the questions for me. I know some people have social anxiety, but to set that as a standard for young adults is ridiculous. People saying I'm just a kid or I'm just a girl, I think is also problematic. This generation is fleeing accountability. Society often tells 18 to 25-year-olds who can vote, join the military, sign contracts, take on debt, live on their own, get married, the list goes on, that they aren't mature enough to do these things or to make decisions by themselves. And they are spoken about when discussing accountability, relationships, or decision making. Because you say that at 25, that's when your frontal lobe develops, which first of all isn't even true, just making it easier to not take accountability. It does not mean that you are valid for making stupid decisions at a younger age. You should be able to make an educated decision. I'm not saying move out right when you turn 18, get married, have a baby. Not everybody wants that, and that's fine. But at the same time, the standard needs to be higher, and you should be knowing these things. You should be trying to learn more to be a competent adult by the age of 18.
Okay, I do agree with some of the things that she has to say, like learning life skills. There's nothing wrong with learning life skills. There's nothing wrong with learning how to function as an adult. But to say that at 18 someone should be expected to have a child is ridiculous. Now, let me try and picture where I was at 18. Yeah, I think I was in university. And some of the decisions that I was making then, I'm just like, I don't know if I would have been able to take care of another human being, at that age. And to try and normalize 18-year-olds having babies is something that I just don't understand. If it is a mistake, then it happens. If it is something that's distinct to you or your religion, I don't know, then maybe. But to try and make it the standard for everyone else is ridiculous. But before I go further, let me see what else she has to say on her page, because she does sound to me like someone who's very woke. She's talking about signing contracts. She's talking about business proposals. So maybe she is a 19-year-old who got married but still has some things going on for herself. And I think I also saw that she has like 1 million followers. So that's not the typical trade wife. That's regular person who got married early, but they still have a career of their own. And I feel like if you're 18, 19 and you still have something going on for yourself, then that's a different story than a 19-year-old with no skill, no career, nothing, just gloating about being a stay-at-home girlfriend or a stay-at-home wife. Okay, so I think we've watched enough of that for today. I wanted us to also watch what the older Tradwives have to say about this entire, stay-at-home mom thing, Tradwife situation. But I'm realizing that the video is becoming way too long. So next week, we will be looking at what the older women have to say about this lifestyle when it comes to trade life content. Now, personally, of course, every person is allowed to make their own decisions, but it is important to walk into that lifestyle with enough knowledge knowledge of what exactly it entails and why sometimes all these women that you're idolizing are not actually stay-at-home moms. To me, someone with a TikTok account that has more than 50,000 followers stunting as a trade wife really truly does not seem authentic and truthful to me. Unfortunately, some younger women may be at the risk of watching that and liking it and thinking that's how blissful it is going to be. And it also depends heavily on the type of income that the husband, the provider, is taking in. And we haven't even factored in the effect of divorce, of possible divorce, because you are relying on a person to feed you. The day that that person wakes up and feels they are no longer attracted to you, they can easily just take away that bread from your mouth. Let me know in the comment section, you guys, what you think about these very interesting videos that we just watched. Do not forget to subscribe. If it is your first time seeing my face, subscribe to the channel, because every single week I will be doing the deeper dives of the videos that I would have covered on my other channel. Until my next one, see you.